with Parshas Emor. Last week, we had Kiddushim Tiyu, which was a general tzivui of Kiddush for all Yidden at all times in all places. And this week, the Torah specifies particular higher levels of Kedusha in Koyanim, in people, in people, space, and time. Kedushas HaMikdash, Kedushas HaKoyanim, and Kedushas HaMoyadim. So all the Moyadim appear in this week's Parsha, the Parshas HaMoyados. And it says like this, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe Leimer, Ach, be'osor lachodesh hashvi hazeh yom HaKippurim hu mikra kodesh yiyeh lochem. V'yinisem es nafshei seichem v'yikraftem ishei la'Hashem. That means it says mikra kodesh by all the Moyadim. You'll soon see why I'm bringing this pasuk. So Rashi on this pasuk says, what does mikra kodesh mean? Mikra kodesh is really a very difficult phrase. Is it a calling of holiness? Is it a holy assembly? What's mikra kodesh? So Rashi says, mikra kodesh kadshehu b'chsus nekiah. You should sanctify the Shabbos with clean clothing ubetfilah. This applies to Yom Kippur. Ubeshar yomim tovim b'machol ubemishte ubechsus nekiah ubetfilah. In other words, chsus nekiah and tefillah applies even to Yom Kippur. But other yomim tovim, there's also Michael Mishta. Now, this is how Rashi teaches mikra kodesh. So in the Maskil David, which is a classic pirush on Rashi by Reb David Fardo, who was also known by the Lamdim because of his Sefer Chasdei David on the Tosefta. He was a machutin of the Chidah, one of the Gdolei Olam. He died in 1792. He was born in Venice, but eventually lived in Yerushalayim. In the Sefer Maskil David, he says, Mashe kosav Rashi, Hatsheyu b'tfilo, eina yalas machta ba'alma. It can't be that this is a doiraisa, that this is the meaning of the pasuk. That can't be. Zok the favos, because the tefillah derabbanan. The chiyuv of tefillah is only midrabbanan, so it can't be that this pasuk is talking about tefillah. Elo ikar apirish l'chsus nekiah. Now, it's true that Rashi everywhere says that tefillah is derabbanan in Brachos Daf Chov and in Shabbos Daf Tes, but it's still possible that the tefillah of Yom Tiv is doiraisa. I don't really understand why it's so pashut to him that sus nekiah could be a doiraisa, but tefillah can't be a doiraisa. Maybe over here it says a chiyuv tefillah on Yom Tiv midoiraisa. That means there's a Gemara in Shavuos Daf Yud Gimel that brings a brayse. Tanya yochoy lo yehei Yom Kippur mechaper elo im his anaboy ukero oy mikra kodesh v'lo yasa boy meloche. We would think maybe that Yom Kippur is only mechaper if you fasted and you were kero oy mikra kodesh v'lo yasa boy meloche. However, by lo his anaboy, one didn't fast. The loy kara oy mikra kodesh, va'asa boy meloche minayin tamud loy yom hakippurim hu mikol moken. So what does it mean? Loy kara oy mikra kodesh. What does that mean? So Rashi says loy kara oy mikra kodesh loy kibloy bibir choisov loy mar mikadesh yisrael v'yom hakippurim. So Rashi says that there was a havamina that Yom Kippur is not mechaper by loy kroi mikra kodesh, and Rashi's teaching before is that what's mikra kodesh? Davening. It sounds like it's a doiraisa. Tosfos says about Rashi ve'ein nireh the loy ashkechen brochos b'yom hakippurim de lahevu doiraisa. But it would seem that Rashi is consistent with what he says in Chumash, that mikra kodesh means katshehu b'tfilah, and tfilah on Yom Tiv is a doiraisa. In Rashi, Krisis Daf Zayin Amid Aleph, Dibur HaMaschil Mikra Kodesh, he says Mikra Kodesh b'tikun seder tefillah. Now, in the Hagoyes of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, back of the Gemara, he says that it's muchach from here that Rashi holds like the Rambam, that the Iker mitzvah's tefillah is doiraisa, and it's only that the Rabbanon made the nusach tefillah and said that you have to daven 3 times a day, but the Iker chayvas tefillah b'chol yom is doiraisa. But l'chayra, this is what he says. But l'chayra, I mean, we don't really need to say that because the machlokes of the Rambam and the Ramban is about the pasuk of Avdoi b'chol levavachem. Eizohi avodah shebeleiv zu tefillah. And the Rambam holds that this is mechayiv tefillah every day. The Ramban says that it's only mechayiv tefillah based tzara. But it's possible that Rashi holds that enochanami. L'avdoi b'chol levavachem is mechayiv tefillah only based tzara. Not mechayiv tefillah every day. But over here, there's a special chiyuv on yontiv of mikra kodesh. And mikra kodesh is kacheo b'tefillah. And memela, the tefillah of yontiv could be doiraisa. And the emes it's muchach because the Ramban himself that holds that in general tefillah is the Rabbanon, and he argues with the Rambam. He says tefillah is the Rabbanon. But over here, in Kapitel Chav Gimel, Pasuk Beis, he says, "V'tam mikra kodesh." What is mikra kodesh about? Sheyu bayoyim hazeh kulam kruim v'ne'esofin. We should all be called and assembled. Lekadesh oisoi ki mitzvah hi al Yisrael he kovetz bebeisoi loikim beyoyim moed lekadesh hayoyim befahesia betfilah v'halel lokel b'ksus nekia v'laseis oisoi yoyim mishte. So you see clearly that even though the Ramban disagrees with the Rambam and he says that tefillah is the Rabbanon, but over here, in the context of Yom Tiv, where it says mikra kodesh, he clearly teaches that mikra kodesh is mechayiv tefillah. Bemis the Pri Megadim notes this in Siman Tov Tzadik, in the Mishpat Zov, Sif Cotton Beis. He says that the Ramban holds that tefillah on Yom Tiv is doiraisa. So it's clear that mikra kodesh is a bazunzir mechayiv. It's an independent mechayiv, and it has nothing to do with the general chiyuv of the avdei b'chol avavchem. You know, the when the Rambam says in the Sefer Mitzvahs Mitzvah Hey that l'avdei b'chol avavchem is mechayiv tefillah, the Ramban says that no, you see in Kama Gemaras that tefillah is the Rabbanon. And he says that it says in the Sifri that l'avdei b'chol avavchem is tefillah, what it means is shenispalel elov be'eis hatzoros ke'inyu shekosov v'chisavoyu melchama ba'artzechem al atzar hatzor eschem v'ariyosim b'chatzoytzris v'niskazim l'fnei Hashem Elokeichem v'hi mitzvah al tzora shetovei al hatzibur l'zoik l'fara b'tefillah usrua. I mean, since the Ramban is moide that on Yom Tov there's a chiyuv tefillah midaraisa, he could have said that the Sifri is talking about Yom Tov. Why does he have to say Beis Hatzoros? But it's pashut because the chiyuv tefillah on Yom Tov is not a chiyuv of l'avdei b'chol avavchem. The chiyuv tefillah is not of Yom Tov is not an avodah shebeleiv. The chiyuv tefillah of Yom Tov is a chiyuv of mikra kodesh lekadesh es shmoi barabim the Asifa and Tefillah. And as I state mefurish in the Hemshich Lashon Ramban, the Ramban says v'hinei mikra kodesh miloshin kruei ha'eda. What is mikra kodesh? It's a lashon of calling. It means that kruei ha'eda, those summoned by the assembly, and achrei kein yoichlu hakruim, the invited ones will eat in Shmuel Aleph, and v'chein al Kol mochoin har tzion va'al mikra eho. What's mikra eho? Hamekoimos shenikroim shom sheyiskabtzu behem kruei ha'eda. So he's mefarish that the mikra kodesh really is a lotion of gathering, of assembling. And that's like he said in the beginning of the Ramban, that the mitzvah is al Yisrael he kovetz bebeisoi loikim beyoy moed lekadosh Hashem befahesia b'tefillah. So if he says pashut that it's not the chiyuv of avodah shebeleiv, avodah shebeleiv is very private. I mean, avodah shebeleiv is not on public display, whereas over here it's a chiyuv of he covers the base of kibbutz moed befahesia b'tefillah. Here the Ikka Kiddush is through the kibbutz and the fayasia. The Balaturim says on the pasuk v'nikdashti b'soich b'nei Yisrael v'samichlei v'amarta aleim moyad Hashem asher tikru oisa mikra kodesh. He says shebemoyadim ha'edam miskaptzin l'ispalu u'lahoydis la'Hashem sheberoivam hadras melech. So this tefillah is really a tefillah of beroivam hadras melech. It's a kiyum of v'nikdashti b'soich b'nei Yisrael. Like the Ramban is saying, Al Derech Zeh says in the Sforno that mikra kodesh is asifas le'iskei kodesh. So according to the Ramban, it's l'chara klor that with a tfilas yochid, there's no kiyum of mikra kodesh. Mikra kodesh is mechayiv at tfilas tzibur, whereas the chiyuv of the Avdei b'chol avavchem, according to the Rambam be'es hatzoros, or according to the Rambam every day, the chiyuv is a private chiyuv. It's not a public chiyuv, and the tefillah b'tzibur is a maila. But over here, the ikka chiyuv is be'emes lihikavetz mikra kodesh. So you know there's a sefer Tzeidah Laderech also on Rashi from Rabbi Yisachar Eilenberg, the mechaber of the Be'er Sheva. So in the end of Parshas Emor, he has a long shakla about the Ramban, and he asks on the Ramban because in the Gemara in Shabbos in Perikol Kisvei Daf Kuf Yud Ches, the Gemara says, "Mai likdosh Hashem mechubed," a pasuk in Yeshaya. Zeh Yom HaKippurim. She'ein boi lo yachile v'lo yishtia. Therefore, it's not included in the V'karos al Shabbos Oinik. Amra Torah that nevertheless kabdeyu b'ksus nikiyah, and that's the likdosh Hashem mechubed. No, so he says, "Shma mina behedye the ksus nikiyah b'Yom HaKippurim eina min haTorah ela medivrei Kabbalah," because if ksus nikiyah would be a chiyuv min haTorah mitzad mikra kodesh, so why do we have to bring a source in divrei Kabbalah in the pasuk in Yeshaya l'kdosh Hashem mechubed is mechayiv ksus nikiyah b'Yom HaKippurim? That's what the Tzeidah Laderech asks. But I think it's meyushiv if you read the Ramban carefully. The Ramban says, "Ki mitzvah al Yisrael lehikavetz bebeis Elokim b'Yom Moed l'kadosh hayom b'fahesya b'tfilo b'halel l'kel b'ksus nikiyah ve'lasis eisayom mishta." So ksus nikiyah did not appear over here as an independent thing, like lasis eisayom mishta. He said that the chiyuv is to gather in the Beis Elokim l'kadosh hayom b'fahesya b'tfilo u'v'halel b'ksus nikiyah. In other words, part of the tzuras hafahesya of Lekadesh, the shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on Yom Tiv, is to gather in the Beis HaKnesses b'ksus nikiyah. And Memela, we need the pasuk in Divrei Kabbalah, I say, to be mechayiv ksus nikiyah if you're not going to shul. In other words, that there's a chiyuv of ksus nikiyah as an individual. Don't state nor in l'kdosh Hashem mechubed zeh Yom HaKippurim, because the mechayiv in this pasuk is part of the mikra kodesh that we should gather b'ksus nikiyah in the Beis HaKnesses to daven. Now you know that in Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis, the Gemara brings a brayse that shtei ayoros ba'achas toikin u'ba'achas mavorchim. If somebody has a choice of being in one city where they are toikin, where they have a shofar, but there's another city that doesn't have a shofar, but in that city they're mavorchim. They know how to say the brachas of Musaf. And obviously, in the city that they have the shofar, they don't know the brachas. And in the city that they know the brachas, they don't have a shofar. So what should he do? So holchim l'makom shetoikin, ve'ein holchim l'makom shemavorchim. You should go for the shofar and not for the place where they daven musaf. It's needless to say. I mean, tkiyah shofar is a deraisa, and tefillah is only a derabbanan. Yeah, zok the Gemara like tzricha. The afagav the high vaday the high suffix. In other words, the Kiddush is that even if it's a suffix shofar, it wins over a vaday tefillah. Yeah, so you pass to Shulchan Aruch Tov Kuf Tzadik Hey. But according to Rashi and the Ramban on Yom Tiv, the tefillah is deraisa. And here it's a Mefurish Gemara that the tefillah on Rosh Hashanah is Rabban. Okay, so this is a shtickle complicated. I'm going to try to just say the nekuda. You know, if you look at the Rambam and the Sefer mitzvahs, I say kuf nun tes. The Rambam says shetzivonu lishbois mimelache b'yoyim rishon shel Pesach. And where is the mitzvah of lishbois mimelache b'yoyim rishon shel Pesach? V'hu amora yisala b'yoyim arishon mikra kodesh uba b'pirushay katsheyu. In other words, Melech Sechel Nefesh. So the Rambam has an upshot in mikra kodesh. Mikra kodesh is an asay not to do melacha. Ukvar kodam loshen amorom. The Gemara says in Shabbos, "Hay shabbosoin asay." Koloyma kol yom tiv shama Hashem boy shabbosoin. Kilo mashvus, oy shvois, oy tishbois. The elu kulam hem tzivuyim b'shvisa. Shabsois Hashem nikru. I'm sorry. Shabsois Hashem nikru yemei hamoyadim kulam. Yeah. Ukvar bo beferush. So besides for the lab of doing malacha, there's an asay. Where's the asay? So this is like a very strange way the Rambam presents it. He brings his own pasuk. He says mikra kodesh. That's the asay. Und the Gemara sagt doch schon that there's an asay of shabbosoin, which means that when it says shabbosoin, it's not just describing some existing fact, but it's kilu amar tishbois or shvois. No, it's a state shvois, tishbois, shabbosin. So why did the Rambam bring his own pasuk? It's not clear. But it's clear that the Rambam is teaching that mikra kodesh is an asay against malach. And the same thing he does in mitzvahs asay kuf samach, the shvis of shvi shel Pesach. He learns it from mikra kodesh. Also in kuf samach beis on shvuos. He learns it from the Karasem Ba'etzem Ayoyim Hazeh Mikra Kodesh. In Kuf Samach Vav, on the first day of Sukkot, in Kuf Samach Zayin on Shmini Atzeres. So always he keeps on repeating this, that Mikra Kodesh is an asay against doing malach. But you know, in Mitzvah Kuf Samach Gimel, the Rambam says something else. He says, He shetzivanu lishbois mi malache be'echad b'tishrei, which you know is Rosh Hashanah. V'hu amoroi, Yisala be'echad lachodesh yeh lochem shabbosai. Ukvar kodam lanu, hay shabbosai nasehu. So over here, he all of a sudden forgot about his mikra kodesh. U'maisa Rosh Hashanah, it also says mikra kodesh. It says in our parsha, Chav Gimel Chav Daled, Daber el bnei Yisrael, b'chodesh hashvi be'echad lachodesh yeh lochem shabbosai, zikra and trua mikra kodesh. No. So over here, he dropped the mikra kodesh, and he only brings the shabbosin, which actually it says in the Gemara. But what's the pshat? I mean, by the other Yom Tovim also says Shabbos, and nevertheless the Rambam brings mikra kodesh, and over here he dropped the mikra kodesh. Yeah, so hakitza amaisa, you know, it's like this. We have be'emes a machloikis. Let me explain to you like this. There's a brayse in Rosh Hashanah daf lamed beit. Okay, let me skip this. I just want to get to the following point, that the in all the Moyados it says mikra kodesh together with the Issa Melacha. In other words, by Pesach it says, by Yoim Arishon Mikra Kodesh Yelochem Kamalachas Avoid Loisas. By Shavuos it says, Karosum Betzim Ayem Azem Mikra Kodesh Yelochem Kamalachas Avoid Loisas. And so also by Shvi Shel Pesach and Shmini Atzeres. But by Rosh Hashanah, it's divided into two psukim. In Pasuk Chav Dalet it says, Daber El Bnei Yisrael Leima B'Chodesh Hashvi Be'echad L'Chodesh Yelochem Shabbosoin Zichroin Trua Mikra Kodesh. So the mikra kodesh is mentioned together with the zikr and trua with the shofar, and in this pasuk it doesn't say anything about malacha. The next pasuk chafei, it says kol malachas avodah loisasu v'kraftim mishel Hashem. So it would seem that the Rambam holds that only when it says the mikra kodesh together with the malachas avodah loisasu, then the mikra kodesh is always getached as an essay against malacha. Mashenkan Rosh Hashanah, where it doesn't say mikra kodesh together with issa malacha, it says it together with tkiyah shofar. So al karkach the assay of malacha is only in the Shabbosim, because Shabbosim mitzadatzmai means shvois, but the mikra kodesh is not talking about Shabbosim. It's not talking about shvisim and malacha. Now, this is really very connected with the machlokes Rebbe Lezer and Rebbe Akiva and Abraisa and Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Beis, but it's en kan hamokim laharich bazeh. But once we say this, that the mikra kodesh of Rosh Hashanah that says together with the zichron trua is different than all the mikra kodesh of Shar Moyados. So we could say that the same thing is true according to the Ramban. That in spite of the fact that the Ramban always teaches mikra kodesh to mean a gathering, bebeis Hashem l'tfilah, yeah, and the Ramban doesn't teach mikra kodesh in the sense of a sheva al taseh from halacha, yeah, the gathering in Bate Knesset l'tfilah, but nevertheless that's the mikra kodesh that says by all the moyadim. But over here that it says by Rosh Hashanah the mikra kodesh together with a zichron trua, so the pshat is poshut that the mikra kodesh is miskayim with the tkiyah shofar. And Memela, in Rosh Hashanah, there's no chiyuv tefillah. It's an astounding thing that on all the Yom Tovim there's a chiyuv tefillah midaraisa. At Rosh Hashanah there isn't a chiyuv tefillah midaraisa. But that's what it comes out because it's a mafurish Gemara that there's no chiyuv tefillah midaraisa on Rosh Hashanah. And the Ramban says that there's a chiyuv tefillah midaraisa on Shar Moyadim. I mean, and it's not just that I'm saying, it says it in the Ramban, but the Pri Megadim in Hilchos Shvuos says mafurish that the Ramban holds that there's a chiyuv tefillah on Yom Tovim midaraisa. But on Rosh Hashanah it has to be that there isn't, because it says mafurish in the Gemara that there isn't. So, I mean, it sounds kind of shocking, but the truth of the matter is that there are many rayas that the shofar is really a form of tefillah. So, Mamela, the tefillah of Rosh Hashanah is neskayim with a shofar and not with the tefillah like the regular tefillah. In any case, this mikra kodesh of Rosh Hashanah is different than the mikra kodesh that's stated in the Rambam, and the Ramban also holds like that, and Mamela is famfit. Yeah. Okay. Now you know the Shittas Rambam that the mikra kodesh of Moyados is talking about malacha. So is the chshver what's going on in the Gemara in Shvuos? The Gemara says that we would think that lo yis ane boy v'lo kroi mikra kodesh v'asa boy malacha lo tia lo kapara. According to the Rambam, malacha and mikra kodesh is the same thing, right? But Tosfos says that V'nir L'Rabbeinu Tam, he has a different shot in that Gemara, that she'enoi shoyves machmas kedushas hayoim, that loy karoi mikra kodesh means that he did everything right, but he's not shoyves machmas kedushas hayoim elo shemisatzel asis malacha. He didn't do malacha, but he didn't do malacha just mitzvah atzlus. That's the loy karoi mikra kodesh. Anyway, so this is how the Rambam would read the Gemara, because really mikra kodesh means shvisa mimalacha, but loy kroi mikra kodesh in this Gemara means that he didn't do malacha, but he still didn't do malacha. His not doing of malacha wasn't with a proper kavanah. Wasn't with a proper kavanah. Now you know there's a sheiltis in Parshas Yisro, Shilton and Dalad, that says the mechayvin the Beis Yisrael, l'Kiddushi l'yoyme tova u'l'yoyme l'shabbata, the ksiv zochas yom Shabbos l'kadsha. U'biyom tziv ksiv mikra kodesh yilachem. So now we have another explanation of mikra kodesh. He says on Shabbos you mechuyev to make Kiddush because it says zochas yom Shabbos l'kadsha, and on Yom Tov because it says mikra kodesh yilachem v'tanya. He quotes a brisa that we don't have. We don't know where it is. V'tanya mikra kodesh zeh kiddush hayoim. U'mechayvina l'kedusha b'tzloisa v'alcham. So they're already more that we don't have this brisa. But if Rashi Bayos is coming from this brisa, it's poshut that it's not shaykh to love the b'chol avavchem like the Achronim were assuming, because it's coming from this. From this brisa where it says that it's a mechayiv of tefillah, and so you know it's like this. The shloah kodesh in the beginning of his Maseches Shavuos, which is not related to the Maseches Shavuos and Shas, because the Maseches Shavuos in the Shloah Kodesh is about the Yom Tov of Shavuos. Anyway, by the way, I hear people say when they count Sfira, Shvuah Echad, Shtei Shavuos, Yom Echad, Shvuah Echad, Shavuos is an oath. You have to say Shavuos. A Shavua is a week. A Shavua is an oath. Okay, but in any case, the Shloah Kodesh, in the beginning of his Masechtes Shavuos, he says, "V'kibalti mi moiri hagoyin maharash zal mi Lublin, shekibel ish mi pi hagoyin Rabbeinu Yaakov Polak zal, sheloi laseis Kiddush v'lecho b'leil rishon shel Shavuos ad seis hakoychov v'atam." Yeah, you shouldn't make Kiddush on the night of Shavuos until it says Hakaychavim. Even though you could always make Kiddush Miboid Yom, the Erev Shabbos, you could make Teisefes Shabbos, but no, on Shavuos, you should wait till it says Hakaychavim. Vatam. Mipnei shebesfir ksiv sheva Shabbosos tmimois tehigenu. V'im kein, yishemekadosh ba'oid Yom, mechaser oisoi hamiktzis mimem tes yimei asvira. If you make Kiddush by Yom, you're taking off from the fullness from the of the 49 days. Shahari Chag HaShavuos u'la'achas Sfira, u'kshiyesh Sfira ein Shavuos, u'kshemek Kiddush and came mekabel latzmei Chag u'mechas oisei hamiktzis miyamei Sfira v'nim tzoshenim f'minis. Continues the shloh. Va'al teshivenu mimashe mispalalim oz hatfila miboid Yom. L'chayre, I mean, if this is true, so why are we talking about Kiddush? You shouldn't daven Ma'ariv. Yeah? Ve'al teshivenu mimashe mispalalim oz hatfilim boid Yom. V'zei neklum. The horib oishiyah tzoli shom motzah Shabbos b'Shabbos. Kivi issa b'brachas. Afagav da'dayin mamish Shabbos gomer. So what the Shloh is saying is really Meraf Sinigri, because it's true that it says in the Gemara that he can daven shom motzah Shabbos b'Shabbos, and it doesn't become Ois Shabbos. That's true. But in that same Gemara, the Gemara says that when you mispal shel Shabbos be'erev Shabbos, it does become Shabbos. The Gemara says that you have to be bodil mimalacha. In other words, that the tfilas arvis miboid Yom on erev Shabbos is meichel teisefes Shabbos. The emes in the Taz in the beginning of Tav Tzadik Dalet, he says ma'achrim le'spalel. Yeah, I guess because he understood that how could it be the Kiddush? It has to be the Tefillah. But in the Shloah Kodesh, it's Mufurish, that it's only the Kiddush, and he gives an explanation, and the explanation is not moving Bechlal. But it seems like the Kabbalah from Rabbi Yaakov Polak was about Kiddush. What's the meaning of this? So there's a fascinating shot in the Hamek She'el of the Netziv. In the Sheiltis, he says that according to this Shiltis, that the Kiddush of Yom Tov is midin mikra kodesh. So we could say that the reason, we don't know really why Rabbi Yaakov Polak said that you should make Kiddush only if the Tzeisek Echovim. He wants to say that this was a later interpretation, that it has to do with its mimas. But the real pshat is because by Shavuos it says, V'karosam be'etzem hayoyim hazeh mikra kodesh. So since the mikra kodesh, which the Sheiltis says is the Machayev of Kiddush of Yom Tov, by Shavuos, it says it in the Nusach of Be'etzem HaYoyim HaZeh, V'karosem Be'etzem HaYoyim HaZeh Kodesh, so it needs Itzumah Shel Yoyim Dafke, and therefore you can't make the Kiddush of Shavuos in this man of Teisefes Yom Tov. Yeah, but we'll still need to say that in spite of the fact that the Mikra Kodesh includes also the Kiddush and davening, as it's Mefurish in the Shiltis, but it's enough to be Mekayim the Kiddush of Alakois in the Itzumah Shel Yoyim, and we're not bothered if you did the Kiddush B'tzloise before that. Yeah, L'maisa, the Ramban over here, it's not clear if Shabbos is included in the Din Mikra Kodesh that he's Nokit Le'inyan Yom Tov. If there's a Mechayev of Tefillah on Shabbos, also Mitzad Mikra Kodesh. He doesn't talk about Yom Tov. It looks a little bit like he's Mesupik. But in the Sheiltis, it's clear that it's not Nichlal, because the Sheiltis says that the Kiddush of Shabbos is from Zohar, and the Kiddush of Yom Tov is Mikra Kodesh. Vaistais Mikra Kodesh wouldn't teach us the Kiddush of Shabbos. But one thing I just want to be moisif that according to Tzais and Shavuos, that the Indian of mikra kodesh is really that we should be mekayim the choyves hayoim with a kavana primus. In other words, you can do everything that you need to do and stay away from everything that you don't need to do, and you're still considered a loy kro oy mikra kodesh, because mitoy chatzlus mitzvahs anoshim ulamada, that's not kro oy mikra kodesh. And the emes, this connects with what the Ramban said last week, that kedoshim tiyu is moinea the possibility of novel b'rshus haTorah, which means that one could be mekayim the gufei Torah and be disconnected from the soul of Torah. He could be a novel b'rshus haTorah. It's alt ois gehalten al pi halacha. Yeah. So and the gufei Torah atoli in the parsha of Kedoshim Tiyu, which is Kroi Mikra Kodesh, which means consecration, concentration, dedication. That's the Kroi Mikra Kodesh. And that's what the Gufei Torah Atalion and the Mikra Kodesh of Shabbos and the Mikra Kodesh, maybe of Shabbos, the Mikra Kodesh of Yom Tov. That's the Kroi Mikra Kodesh. We say, Vanizois Brisi Oisom Amar Hashem, Ruchi Asher Alecha. Udvorai asher samti beficha lo yamushu mipicha mipi zeracha umpi zeracha ad olam, which is a promise that if we'll try to be connected not only to the letter of the law, to the dvorai asher samti beficha, but also to the spirit of the law, which is the ruchi asher alecha. So it'll be lo yamushu. So that's what it's about.